Good day, everybody. My name is Terrell Boyer with RGNets, and I wanted to take a minute and talk about configuration templates on the rXg. A configuration template is simply a YAML file that contains a plain text version of an rXg configuration. Of course, there are some formatting rules that will need to be applied, but I'm going to show you in this video a really easy way to figure those out. These templates can do really simple things like add an admin account, or can be more complex and build out a complete rXg configuration. There are also many different methods of applying these templates. So for example, you could host the file on a web server and just point the rXg to that web server to pull down the config. If you want to keep the templates under version control, perhaps you may want to store them in GitLab, and then you could point the rXg directly to your GitLab repository and then pull those down. Another option could be that you want to load the template on a USB and have the rXg automatically use that template during the installation process. These templates can even be combined with other scripting languages such as Python and deployed over an SSH session. In this video, I'm going to use a really simple method and just upload the template to a brand new rXg deployment over the admin user interface. So normally when I do that, I use VS Code to manage and write templates and kind of piece them together, and I'll show you a little bit more about that after we get this rXg up and going. But here I have a sample MDU deployment, and the first thing that I do obviously is the rXg does not have an admin account. It does have a license that it's already pulled down from our license server, and there are some sample templates that are already listed here. So if you wanted to see how to do different things and possibly use variables and so forth, you can look or reference the sample config templates that are already loaded on the rXg. However, so we're going to kind of focus on the one that I've already put together here. And I use this one almost on a daily basis because I'm installing new versions of software and I want to deploy the same config over and over and over again. So this comes in really handy also if you were going to do rapid deployments and you wanted to lay in like a base configuration for every site that you deploy, and then maybe from that base configuration you just add a few features that are specific to that site. So many different ways, and almost everything on the rXg can be configured via a config template. So being able to create a complete configuration is definitely possible. One thing that's important with config templates is order of operations. So you want to write a config template almost the same way that you would push the buttons on an rXg. And the reason for this is, if you'll notice here, that sometimes I'm linking back to different things, and if those things haven't been created yet, then it's going to throw an error on the template. So in this particular case, I'm linking back to the business policy. So that means that I would have had to have, in this template, previously created the business policy or the basic policy. So order of operations when you're building these templates is going to be really important. So here's that part that I was telling you about. Now that we've added our WLAN controller, we're actually building SSIDs. And so when I apply this template, it's going to link to the wireless LAN controller and push a config to that wireless LAN controller to build out these SSIDs. So that is really cool, and it actually makes things go really fast for when you're doing rapid deployments. So we're going to go ahead and just copy this entire template. I'm going to minimize this, and then over here on the rXg, we're just going to go to Create New, and we're just going to call this Initial Config. And here you can see all the different options of where you can pull config templates from. So there's a remote URL. You can use basic HTTP authentication, use certificates to go and fetch that. So a lot of different options. You can upload a file. If you wanted, instead of where I'm copying and pasting this in, you could just simply point to the file and upload that file as well. So finally, there's two options that I can do here. I can either hit the checkbox to apply the template immediately, which I know this template is tested and validated and it's going to work just the way I expect it to. Or if not, then I could just hit create and then I could test the template. So let's do that. And so if I check the box for apply, it's immediately going to provision that to the system. But in this case, I'm just going to hit create, and I see my initial config here. And one of the things that I can do is go over here and click test. And so what that's going to do now is it's going through the entire configuration template, and it's going to test to make sure that that configuration template is valid before it actually makes any changes, and it'll let me know the results of that. So I see that the test mode was a success, but right here in the last applied column, nothing has been applied. So what I'm going to do now is, now that I know that that configuration is valid, is go ahead and hit apply. And then it's going to run through, and I can kind of see the circle here spinning. So it's applying that template. And then what we're going to see now is we'll probably see a web server restart, because some of the configuration that was applied will require a web server restart. So the first indication that the template worked is the fact that it's asking me to log in. That means that it applied my admin account. So I'm going to go ahead and log in. And so here we're just going to wait for the web server restart to configure, or to finish. All right, and now we're just going to bounce over here, and the easiest way to tell if a configuration is applied to a system or not is to click on like policies or something that's going to show you some data. And this is the complete MDU configuration that was applied in just a matter of seconds using a config template. So now this system is more or less ready to be deployed in a production environment. Now, I will say it did take a little bit of effort to put those templates together, but that effort pays itself off day in and day out as I reuse that template over and over again. So let me show you how to build those templates real quick. So one of the things, so let's take an admin account, for example. So if I go to System and Admins, so we have all the normal accounts here. So I'm going to do, up here in the right-hand corner, there's an export button. And if you'll notice, you can export to CSV or Excel, but the thing that I want to do is export to a config template. And so then it's going to ask me how many levels do you want to create. I typically just leave the default. Maybe I'll go 1 or 2 levels. So one thing I'll say about the config templates is they can be really simple or they can be really complex, and you can nest creations within basically record creations within other records. So that gets a little outside of the scope of what I wanted to cover with you today. Just know that that's possible. So for today, we're just going to do a nest level of 0. So I'm going to go ahead and export that. And what that does is it opens my text editor on Mac, and I can see now this is the config template, just that section of configuration for the admin scaffold. So this is every admin account, and it's laid out. And so if I wanted to create a config template, then what I would do is just copy, maybe I just wanted to do my account. So I'd copy that section. And I could go down here. It's already in this particular template, but I'm going to show you for an example. So I would just paste that into the template. Now the other thing to know about the config templates is at the very top, there's typically an header that you'll need to copy as well. So in this case, it's the admin header. And so I would just paste that there. And so formatting is pretty important. So you want to make sure that there's no spaces before this, and then this one starts with a dash. But all the pretty much if you just copy and paste what it exported back into a template and just pick out the pieces that you want, then you can start just kind of piecing together a full configuration template like I've done here. And again, the one key rule to keep in mind is just write the template just as you would configure it in person. So if you're going to go through and push the buttons, then that's the same order that you would write the template in. All right, guys. Well, that is my overview on config templates. I'd love to hear what you think, and if you're using those, in the comments below this article. Otherwise, have a great day. Thank you.